I've said on this channel a bunch of times that cover three is the absolute worst coverage that a defense can play against any offense that knows how to throw the football. This is the coverage that puts a huge smile on every quarterback's face, or at least it should. Throwing against cover three is like stealing for QBs. This is QB Unfiltered, my take, why quarterbacks love cover three.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Okay, cover three used to be a staple of football and defensive coordinators, their philosophy and overall defensive scheme. You know, back in the 60s and the 70s when offenses and particularly pass offenses were archaic, where you had these pro sets, pro formations with a true tight end with his hand down in the dirt. You had two split ends out there down in a 3-point stance, and you had some form of two running backs in the backfield with the QB under center. Offensive pass games consisted of split ends running button hooks. A lot of cases, teams were running two receiver routes, and defensive coordinators could get away with playing cover three, which would allow them to run a 6, 7, or 8-man box. They would take away the deep game with those three deep dudes, right? And feel real good about themselves because the offensive passing game couldn't hurt that coverage. That all started to change in the 80s when Bill Walsh took the NFL by storm with the West Coast offense. And then you've got Warren Moon and Houston coming in with the run and shoot. And what both of those systems did was it spread out the defenses, started to use 4 receivers. And I think the biggest thing that offenses did to defensive coverages is they started to use the running back as a true 5th receiver. So all of a sudden you've got 5 wideouts out there running these route concepts that stretched defensive guys, and it really exposed how much grass and real estate out there. And the one thing that, you know, I'm going to talk about a few times in this video, it really showed what cover three's Achilles heel is. And that is the slot defenders, the guys that are responsible for curl and also responsible for the flat. So you got one defender responsible for 2 different zones. And when offensive coordinators finally figured out that in order to really hammer cover three, you put one receiver inside of that slot defender and you put a receiver outside of him and you make him make a decision. And your quarterback keys that guy, and whatever he does, he's wrong. Or you put a guy behind him and a guy in front of him, that vertical high-low situation, and the quarterback reads him, and whatever he does, he is wrong. So the offense always had the final answer. So those changes, along with the Qwik game really taking hold again, Bill Walsh and the run and shoot, where the intermediate and downfield deep passing games were really sort of put on the shelf and used occasionally, but a lot of the OCs and quarterbacks then started to ramp up that Qwik game, which really scared defensive coordinators into getting out of cover three. And that's when the cover two monster was born. Before we get to the end of this video today, I'm going to tell you why cover three is so easy for quarterbacks to dissect if they attack it properly. And I'm going to give you a handful of route concepts that I've used for over 30 years in my coaching career. When we saw cover three, we were running one of these that I'm going to chalk up for you today, and you're going to understand why it is so easy to beat that coverage. All right, guys, if you enjoy my unvarnished opinion and takes on quarterback play, then please check out another one of my vids. You're not going to get too many other QB analysts that can talk about playing the position and coaching the position from my standpoint of being both a former quarterback and a former quarterback coach and offensive coordinator. So subscribe to the channel QB Unfiltered. As always, I greatly appreciate the support. Okay, cover three is a zone coverage. You've got 3 guys deep with 5 underneath zones. Those underneath zones are this. Starting on the outside, you've got the flat. You move into the curl. In the box is the hook. And then it's mirrored on the other side. So you've got curl and then flat. Okay, flat, curl, hook. curl, flat. And then behind it, you've got the three guys deep. Both corners walked off into loose alignment, and they've both got deep outside third. And then you've got your free safety in and around the middle of the field, and he's got deep middle third. That's cover 3. Now, spoiler alert, the reason why this coverage is so easy to beat, the one Achilles heel that this coverage has is you've got one defender on both sides of the offensive formation, one defender in coverage that's responsible for 2 different zones. And we're talking about the slot defender and the slot defender. Okay. They've got to play curl and flat. And those are the guys that you pick on with your route concepts. That's who you pick on with the horizontal stretches, where you put a guy inside of that slot defender and a guy outside of that slot defender. You make him make a decision. The quarterback's keying that guy. And the beauty of throwing against cover 3 and what makes it so easy for the quarterback is if he's reading the right dude and he's reading it correctly, that slot defender is never right. Whatever he does, he's wrong. Now, the thumbnail that I have for this video is an inaccurate depiction, the diagram. It has just 4 zones for the underneath. And so they've got flat, curl, and they don't have anybody responsible for the hook. And that's just not realistic. Okay, now here are a handful of concepts that absolutely obliterate cover 3. They're really simple, really easy. I'm going to draw them up out of this same formation, 2 by 2. These are 5 routes that I used for 32 years as an offensive coordinator. The first one we'll go with is 4 vertical. Okay, so on 4 vertical, as you can see, the 2 outside receivers are running vertical routes and taking those cornerbacks out of there. They should not be in play. However, you can call this play and tag either the number 1 receiver or the number 4 receiver. If you've got a great matchup, if you've got a corner that's slow, if you've got a cornerback that's cheating up and playing a little too tight, okay, you can call this versus cover 3 and tag one of your outside guys and throw a home run there. But really, the game is with the slot receivers. Okay, so I'm not going to go in depth with what the quarterback's looking at pre-snap wise. We're not going to get hard and heavy into that. I'll give you some real generic pre-snap and after snap reads by the quarterback. But when you're running 4 vertical against cover 3, basically what your QB's doing when he comes up to the line of scrimmage, he's checking this free safety out, okay? A lot of times you'll see free safeties that are cheated one way or the other. That's going to give the quarterback a good hint as to which direction he's going to go. You're also looking for the depth of the slot defenders, okay? There will be times where you'll get a slot defender that's, for whatever reason, lined up 3 yards off that slot receiver, or the other guy's lined up like 6 yards off. Well, the guy that's off 3 yards is going to get run by real fast, okay? And then the other thing that the quarterback keeps in mind when he's keying this out pre-snap is which one of these 2 dudes is his guy. Okay, which one of those 2 slot receivers is going to run a great seam vertical, not get jammed up by the slot defender, and is going to be there when he needs to be there for the quarterback. All right. Now, let's say your QB pre-snap is determined he's going to go with the number 3 receiver. So on the snap of the ball, your QB's taking a 3-step drop and he wants to throw this seam vertical right off the inside shoulder of that slot defender. Clean feet, 1, 2, 3, stride and throw. It's about a 10 to 12 yard throw with the ball in the air. The problem that you see from a lot of quarterbacks, this drives me crazy at the college level and the NFL level. The quarterback's feet are sloppy. They end up taking an extra step, a hitch step, and they're throwing the ball late. And what you'll see is this guy running open, and because the ball gets out of the hand late, the ball's in the air too long. And that's when you see these receivers catching the ball downfield and getting lit up by that safety coming out of center field, or the pass getting broken up. And that's all on the quarterback. So if he's going to go to the number 3 receiver, it's 1, 2, 3, throw it right off the inside shoulder of that slot defender. Right in here, we're throwing a 1. We're putting it on a rope. If this guy gets depth and takes that away, okay, then your quarterback's eyes come down to the running back and he checks it down to him. The back's got rules that say if he's sitting all by himself, he just spots up to the quarterback and waits for the ball. If he's getting hugged up by a linebacker, as soon as he gets the QB's eyes on him, he can burst flat one way or the other. Okay, so whichever slot receiver your quarterback chooses pre-snap, on the snap of the ball, he's taking a 3-step drop and he's going to that slot receiver to the check down route. This is 4 vertical. This is a route that really hurts cover 3. Okay, now we start working with the quick game routes where we are putting that slot defender in a horizontal stretch. And the first one we're going to chalk up is the hitch game, and versus cover 3, this is unstoppable. Okay, so against cover 3, when you call the hitch game, you've got all 4 receivers across the board running hitch routes. Now, the depth is where I had my guys run these routes was at 6 yards. I always felt like if you told them at 6, they'd get to 5. If you told them at 5, they'd end up at 4. So we always made it 6 yards. All right. They're selling the vertical route. They're sinking down and hitching it up. Now, the key to this route are the 2 slot receivers who are running the hitch route, but they've got to cross the face of the slot defender and then get the 6 yards and sink down. The running back is going through his pass pro responsibilities. If he doesn't have to stay in to block, just like on 4 vertical, he releases on the check down. Let's just say we're going to the right side on this for the quarterback, okay? And one of his pre-snap rules to determine where he's going, he wants to throw to the side with the biggest cornerback cushion. That should make sense to everybody. And say both corners are equal, they're both 8-9 yards off, then the QB is going to go to the side that he likes to throw the hitch route the best. Quarterbacks have certain sides that they like to throw to versus the other. So there's a number of variables that go in, but let's say the QB has decided now that he's going to go to the right side, and on the snap of the ball, he's keying this guy right here, okay? And the quarterback is going to GST, grab, stab, and throw. So there's no drop. It's going to grab that snap, get it loaded, stab that back foot in the ground, and he's ready to throw. Now, that slot defender is going to do one of 3 things. He's going to sink down with that slot receiver's route. If he does that, we spit the ball outside. There's nobody there. He's going to widen to the flat. He does that, you spit the ball to the slot receiver. There's nobody there. He's going to get depth, okay? And when he gets depth, I told my quarterbacks, throw the ball outside, all right? And there's no gray area on this. There's never a situation where your quarterback comes to the sideline and you go, tell me what that slot defender did when we ran 4 hitch routes. Well, I think no. He does one of those 3 things and you react to what he does. Remember what I said earlier. Whatever this guy does, he is wrong, okay? So he's either taking away the outside hitch, then you're throwing it to the slot receiver, or he's taking away the slot receiver hitch, then you're throwing it to the outside guy. If it's cloudy, if something happens where you don't like what's going on out there, you just bring your eyes down into the box and you check it down to your running back. Now, I'm going to talk about Kirk Herbstreit later on in this video, but every game that I watched that he did this year in college football, at least once during the game, he made a comment when the offensive coordinator, whoever was playing, actually called the hitch routes against defenses that were playing cover 3 with their corners 8, 9, 10 yards off. And Herbstreit would say the same thing every time. I was pulling my hair out watching the games, yelling at my laptop, going, throw the hitch, throw the hitch, throw the hitch, the whole game long. And when the OC finally did it, and when the quarterback finally just completed an easy throw, Herbstreit said the same thing every time, and we'll talk about that later on. Okay, this is one of my favorite routes. I mean, if you got a steady diet of cover 3 by the defensive coordinator, you could run this play until the cows came home, until they waved the white flag. It's really unstoppable. Okay. And it's the stick route. We're going to run it to the right. I'll start off by chalking up the backside routes. This is the backside. Our quarterbacks never against cover 3 got to the backside because it was easy pickings on the front side. And this is what we've got. Okay, the outside receiver, we're going to run stick now to the number 3 receiver here, the slot. The outside receiver to the stick side has a mandatory outside release vertical, no matter what the coverage is, and he's also expecting the football. Because if he's a pre-snap winner, the QB is going to take a shot at that. All right. He's got mandatory outside release vertical. Here's where the game comes in. Your slot receiver running the stick. Same thing he did on 4 hitch routes where he's driving for 6 yards and he is crossing the face of the slot defender and working towards his inside shoulder and then sinking down when he gets to 6. Now the back, he's in what we call hot alignment. So he's going to move out and match the feet of the tackle. So he's lined up right behind the tackle, which puts him wider than normal because we want him out there as fast as possible to really affect this guy. And he has a hot release shoot route. And on that shoot route, if the back's running it to his right, he's looking over his right shoulder as he's going full speed and he's aiming for 3 yards depth on the sideline. Okay. Now your quarterback, this is easy money. Okay. So I'd already said part of his pre-snap look or pre-snap read is if this guy's a winner, okay, this guy's pressed up a little bit tighter. That safety's in the middle of the field. He can't help out. If this guy's a winner, take your 3-step drop and lay the ball up there, put air underneath it and let him go make a play. If he's not now, this is what we're doing on the snap of the ball. We're keying this guy and we're GSTing. Grab, stab, and throw. If that slot defender sinks with the stick route, remember he's crossing his face, he sinks down, the QB spits the ball to the back. There is nobody out there. Nobody. If this slot defender starts to widen with the running back, the QB spits it to the stick route and there's nobody there. This is as easy as it gets. Pitch and catch, 2 easy throws. Whatever this guy does, he is wrong. This is a stick route and a cover 3 killer. Okay, now we move to the option route, and I'm going to stay on the right side. We're going to call the option route to the number 3 receiver, and we used this route as a tendency breaker with our running back. Okay, since we were going to keep him in, we were going to go 6-man protection. As a tendency breaker, we had him line up to the side of the option route and then cross check. Okay, so he's going to get the protection set up to where he's going to cross the QB's face and actually end up on the left side now for pass protection. Again, that's only done just as a tendency breaker for defensive coordinators breaking film. Okay, now let's go with the play side, the option route to number 3. Outside receiver to the tag side, mandatory outside release vertical. Again, expect the ball. If the quarterback thinks you're a pre-snap winner, you're going to get the ball thrown to you. All right. Beat the cornerback deep and get him the hell out of there. Now, the number 3 receiver running the option route now is basically running his route based on what this guy does. And that's why you call it option. So let's say as he starts to drive off the ball and this slot defender starts to get a little bit of width, at 6 yards, he's just going to hook it up inside. If that slot defender gets depth, at 6 yards, he's just going to hitch it up. If that slot defender stays inside, plays a inside curl type look, then the option receiver can stick that toe in the ground and work to the outside. Again, that's why you call it option. You're giving him the option to get open. All right. This is backyard football at its finest. Now, that's the play side. Okay. On the back side now, this will be a great example of that high-low stretch that I talked about earlier. So the slot receiver has got best release, and we call this a second level sit. He's going to drive vertically. And when he gets into grass now, he's just going to sit down and find grass for the quarterback to get him the football. The outside receiver runs what we called it a read route. It's an under route. It's a little in route. 6 yards, sell the vertical, stick his toe, and now he's working inside, staying flat, and he's looking for grass. This is the high-low that you put this guy in with the bind. So your quarterback on the snap of the ball, he's GSTing and throwing the option route. If for some reason the option route's taken away, your QB snaps his eyes to the backside, starts to get into a controlled shuffle, and he's just looking for whoever's there on that high-low. So you've got get open, backyard route, option route, and on the backside, you've got that high-low stretch on that slot defender. All right, we made a killing off of this play for years and years. Okay, the last one I'm going to talk about is the curl flat game. And this is basically mirrored on both sides with the number 3 receiver running a hook route in the box. And so we'll start with the running back. Okay, he's going to line up to the right side in 2x2. He's in a hot alignment, matching the feet of the tackles so that he can get out there fast and get a stretch. He's running that free release or hot release shoot route. Number 4, the outside receiver, has got the curl route 12 yards deep. He's selling the vertical route. When he gets to 12, he just curls it inside and looks for grass. All right. The one thing that drives me crazy is your curl receivers that run great routes, except when they get to the end of the route, they're ended up standing right behind a curl defender and the quarterback can't get him the ball. He's got to try to find grass in here and give the quarterback a lane to throw in. We're basically doing the same thing on the other side. So number 2, the slot receiver's running a 2-step quick out, which basically mirrors the running back's shoot route. And then number 1's running the 12-yard curl, looking to find grass and selling the vertical route to 12 yards. Okay. And then your number 3 receiver's running what we call a hook route. So he's going to drive it into the box. He's going to split those 2 backers. He's going to sit down at 6 yards and just slide and keep grass for the quarterback. This guy ends up being a check down for the QB. All right. So let's say that the quarterback has decided pre-snap that he's going to the right side. Very, very simple. I'm sure that you guys can know what he's keying on the snap of the ball before I even say it. Okay. So it's this dude right here. Right now, your quarterback with his footwork here is taking either a 3-step drop or a 3 and hitch. And let me explain it. As he starts to drop 3 steps, he's keying the slot defender. If that slot defender gets depth, the quarterback's going to pat his feet down. So now it is a quick 3-step drop and he's going to spit the ball out to the running back. There is nobody there. Okay. As that quarterback starts to take his drop and he's keying this guy and he starts to widen with the running back, then the QB is going to hit that 3rd step and hitch up, take a hitch up step, which times out better with this 12-yard route. It gives this guy just a click more timing to find that grass. All right. The quarterback takes a 3-step hitch up and he drives that curl route in there for an easy completion. If for whatever reason we get the slot defender taking the shoot route, we get the inside linebacker getting a bunch of width and messing with that curl route, the quarterback then just brings his eyes into the box. Number 3 now is just sliding in the grass and he spits the ball down there as a check down. Now, if the quarterback went the other way on the snap of the ball, he'd go through the same read progression and he would have the same feet. So those are 5 routes right there that absolutely hammer cover 3. And I just drew up for you guys 5 of the 6 route concepts that I ran for over 30 years straight and just lit people up. And it didn't matter what coverage we were getting. 4 vertical, the hitch game, the option route, the stick route, and the curl flat game. Okay, so as I said at the beginning of this video, cover 3 sort of went the way of the dinosaur starting in the 80s, and you saw it less and less and less. And when the college game took off with the air raid principles being used by, I don't know what the percentage was, but it was all over the place. And pretty soon, cover 3 was a relic, a thing of the past. Defenses started to sit in 2 safety high, cover 2 type scenario. Like cover 2 was a better option for them. They were less vulnerable than playing cover 3 because C's and QBs got too good at dissecting that coverage. But I am seeing a lot more cover 3 popping up in college football and even the NFL. And you've got teams in the NFL that are just lining up in it, right? Which is insulting. So they're not disguising, they're not stemming, they're not buzzing on the snap. They're just lining up in cover 3. And now getting to Herb Street, every game that he did this year, I'm watching the games and I'm always checking, defensive coverage before the ball snap. And I was watching the USC Oregon game and Oregon lines up and USC is in cover 3, corners like 10 yards off the outside receiver. And I'm yelling, throw the hitch route. Nope. They're not going to do it. They're not going to call it. And finally, they get USC in cover 3. The corner's lined up 10 yards off. They run the hitch, okay? Quarterback Moore spits it out there. Easy money, pitch and catch. Receiver catches the ball, runs for 8, 9, 10 more yards before he's tackled. And Herb Street said what he says every game when an offense finally throws the hitch route against cover 3. Well, they took advantage of that coverage and they're taking the easy, free yards. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, yeah, I'm buying that, Herbie. Why in the world aren't they calling that every time they see that coverage? That's a show for another day. So guys, keep an eye out this season, this upcoming season, and how many snaps throughout the course of a game in college and the NFL where defensively they line up in and play cover 3. Because if defensive coordinators can play a 6-man box and play cover 3 and not get hurt by the offense, they're going to stay with it and they're going to continue to play it. Okay, let me know what you guys think. Did I get it right or did I get it wrong? This is QB Unfiltered. And remember, always throw the ball short to guys who can score. See ya.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.